folks, welcome back to the Spring tutorial, and in this video I am going to demonstrate how you can create a Spring application with the minimum possible configuration. For that I am using Eclipse as very usual, and here I am going to create one simple Java Maven project, and then I'm going to configure by adding the necessary dependencies to my project. So the first step is to create a file menu project, and here you choose a Maven project, and here in the current first screen you need not to do anything in the wizard, and then go to the second screen. Here make sure Maven archetype quick start, and then go to the next screen. Here com.tutorial is my usual group ID. Now the current project is Spring Demo 01, Spring Demo _01, and then remove the artifact ID from the package name as it is my regular process, and then click on the finish button. Now you get one Maven Java project. Now in this project, what we have to do? We have to build the basic configurations. What are those things? Go to the POM file, open the POM file. In this POM file, pom.xml, here we need to add something here to something next to this dependencies in order to make the project to compile with or use with Java 1.8. What is that? Post the dependencies, you need to add the build plugin. In this build, you need to add plugins, plural plugins. Within plugins, you need to add one plugin. That plugin is going to have some configuration. Artifact ID, Maven compiler plugin, and then it requires a version. That version is 3.5.1, and then a few more configuration details. Configuration, then in the configuration the version of source, which version of the source code you are going to use, and then destination or target. Target is 1.8. Once you have configured all these things, just right click on your project, go to Maven, choose update project. Make sure the current project is checked. Click on OK. It takes little amount of time and upgrade the project to 1.8 version. This is all. This is minimum, bare minimum thing we are going to have to do for every Java project. After doing this, let us make sure the project is perfectly running. Run as Java application. Now we got the output, means the program executed successfully. The configuration, the basic configuration what we wrote is done. Now the next step, again in the same POM file, we need to add the Spring dependencies. Here one only dependency entry you have in dependencies group. What is that? JUnit. Along with that JUnit, we need to have one more dependency, that is Spring related dependency. How we have to add it? Go to browser, search for Maven repository, Google search. Go ahead with the first search result, and then here you search for Spring. If you searched by Spring, you get a lot of results. So you search for Spring context. So in this Spring context, you choose maybe the latest version in 5.3. So 5.3 latest, that is the last version in 5x. So that you choose. Click here, that content is selected automatically. You need not to do anything to separately select. Within dependencies entry, you add the dependency whatever you have copied now. and save it. As soon as you save, it will automatically update the Maven dependencies. If it did not update, just once again right click on the project name, go to Maven and update project you choose, then finally click on OK. So you get all the Maven dependencies here updated in your project. Now the next step, you got the Maven dependencies with you, and then what next? Right. What is the purpose of Spring? Already we discussed in the previous tutorial. What is that? The objects creation, instead of the developer creating the objects, Spring framework will take care of creating objects. So which class objects the Spring framework is creating and giving to us are known as Spring beans. Okay, so that kind of a bean, or which class object you want Spring to create and give you, that class let us create, let us define that class. So new class, that should be definitely in a different package, com.tutorial.beans, and then the class name maybe a simple person with what all fields we are going to have in this person: ID, name and email. That's all. These are only 3 fields. Int ID, string name and string email. Okay. Now the default constructor, the Eclipse itself has given the default constructor, that is constructor from superclass. Now let us create all other constructors and other methods required to have in this class. Constructor with parameters, setters, getters, and then finally toString method. Once all the methods are created, now save this and go to here. How you get an object of person class? Person, make sure the appropriate person class is imported. Person, person equals to person, person equals to new person of, you call the appropriate constructor here. Which constructor you want? ID, name, email, that is parameter constructor. 01, name is James and email is james@gmail.com. Now this is how the person object, right? Let us run this project. If the project is successfully executed, we can go to the next step. Yeah, the project executed successfully. Is this a Spring project? After all, by adding Spring dependencies, we cannot say it is a Spring project. We are not using any of the dependencies. How we can say it is a Spring project? Huh? Right, now let us try to do the things. In order to the Spring container bootstrapping, we need to we need to write one configuration file which is to be used by Spring framework, that is spring.xml. What is that file name? Spring.xml. So here I am creating the spring.xml file within the root of the class path. Means what is the class path? com.tutorial.com is the class path. So root of the class path, where that com folder is there, that is in src main java. In that folder I will create one XML file. So that XML file name simply can be spring.xml. Spring.xml. And in some literature you can find it as application context.xml. Don't need to confuse. That name can be any name. It can be simply your name. Spring will accept. But instead of giving any meaningless names, let us give spring.xml so that it will be convenient for the reader, for the user or other developers to understand what exactly this file is. Now here we need to write the actual content of the XML file. Here there is a hint to you. Instead of remembering all the content, here you search for Spring reference documentation. You search in this Spring reference documentation. You can go ahead with the first search result. In this result, go to core container, the IOC container, and then IOC container, let us go to the overview here. Yes, this is the content. These 3-4 lines you need to have in the project. So copy and paste in your project. Okay, now we'll close this beans element. So if it did not show any error, and once you reached here you open angle bracket. As soon as you open angle bracket, if it is showing all the suggestions, your all configurations are perfect. Okay, so go to bean. So here you are going to write the details of a single bean, that is single spring bean. Okay, now bean, every bean will have couple of attributes. Their ID, with what name that bean can be accessed. Person, bean is person. Class, which class object the Spring Framework have to give to me when I asked the Spring Framework to give a person bean. That is tutorial dot beans dot person, and that's all. That's all for one single bean. So once this bean is completed, bean, the open tag has completed. Now you need to fix the properties. What all attributes this person bean should have? What all attributes it have? ID, name, and email. These all values we have to give here. So property, what property you need to give? ID property I need to give, and then another attribute, value. What is the value I want to have to this ID attribute? Let's say 101, and then couple of more other properties. Property name is the name of the person is another attribute, and its value should be here. In the application last time I have given James. Now this time I will give John, and then another property. Another property name is email address, and its value should be John @msn.com. Finished. That's all. These are all configurations I need to give here for a person. The person is an instance of com.tutorial.beans.person class. Okay. Now let us go back to the application. Here, instead of we instantiate, we'll ask somewhere else. Here is Spring Framework or Spring container. Okay, that Spring containers are different containers we have. One of the different containers is application context. So application context equals to new. There are again different kinds of application contexts. We have application context is not actually a class, it is an interface. See, this is an interface. Okay, here you can see this I indicator, that means interface. So we have a couple of concrete implementations of this interface in Spring. So one among them is class path XML application context. Okay, what is that? Class path XML application context, which takes a string parameter to the constructor. So that is what is the Spring configuration file name you wrote. Some time back I wrote one configuration file called spring.xml. That name I have to pass here, spring.xml. That's all. Almost finished. Here, instead of we are instantiating manually, let us ask the context. Hey context, get a bean of with what name that bean has been configured here in spring.xml. Person, right? That person, let us copy and put here. This is all. Now Still it is showing some error. What is that error? That get bean returns java.lang.object. What is the return type of it? Object. That object automatically cannot be casted to person, so we have to typecast it explicitly. So person. Almost done. Not almost, everything is done. Right click and run as Java application. Now you can find here the name is John and email address is john@msn.com. So exactly as per this. Okay, so this is simple Spring application completely with XML beans configuration. Along with XML annotation configuration also we have, that we are going to discuss in upcoming tutorials. For example, here one of the properties of the person bean is address, but that address is not a simple variable. Let us see how that address is. New another class. This another class name is address. Okay, so the address is going to be the combination of string house number and string street, string city. That's all. Combination of these three is the address. Okay, now how since this is a bean, we should have all the necessary content in this bean. There are constructor from superclass, constructor using fields, setter getters, and finally toString. This is common across. So address is done. Now let us get back to the person class. Here ID, name, email, and then address. Address is address. So for that address related all the constructors, setter getters, toString we should have. Okay, so constructor using fields, this time all, and then we should have one setter getter method for which which variable address attribute, and then toString let us remove, and then regenerate the toString method with all member data. Select all, already selected, then generated. Now this address, now if I executed this application, the address is null. Let us see. Run as Java application. At this point of time the address is null. Okay, now if I want to give address to the person, how do I have to do? So go to the Spring XML file, create another bean. Okay, again this bean we need to provide all the attributes. ID is address, and class. Which class object is this? com.tutorial.beans.address. What all properties it have? Property house number, street, city. Okay, so house number, its value should be 1111 house number, and then another property street value is Kensington Street, and then another property city, that city value is Mumbai. That's all. But we have one bean here address and another bean here we have per person, but where we made this address is one of the member to the person. Okay, here we have to do within the person one more property. That property is address. Earlier we used value, but this time this is not value. Instead of value we should write reference. Reference ref address. That's all. Finished everything. Now let's go back to the application and then run as Java application. For our surprise, it will display all the address details, house number, street, city. This is not surprise actually, this is the behavior of Spring Framework. Okay, now let us try to understand what it have done. Spring has created a bean of address and given as one of the member of the person. Okay, so here we neither create address object nor we create the person object. Spring Framework itself has created both the address and given to the person object. So this is the Spring Framework behavior. Automatically objects are created. Okay, so hope you understand this. Thank you for watching. We'll meet again in another video.